Good morning. I'd like to welcome you back to our final Anchored in the Word morning reflection for this week. And I hope that the things that we have looked at as we consider biblical wisdom in the light of the miserable seasons of life that we deal with, and we do deal with difficult seasons of life, I hope that this has given you some things to help shape your thinking so that it is much more biblical. And I'd like to read the text one more time with you, and then we will jump into a couple of final thoughts. So here's what the text says, Psalm 39, verses 1 and following. I said, I will take heed to my ways, that I sin not with my tongue. I will keep my mouth with a bridle. While the wicked is before me, I was dumb with silence. I held my peace, even from good, and my sorrow was stirred. My heart was hot within me while I was musing. The fire burned. Then spake I with my tongue, Lord, make me to know mine end and the measure of my days, what it is, that I may know how frail I am. Behold, thou hast made my days as an handbreadth, and mine age is as nothing before thee. Verily, every man at his best state is altogether vanity. Now, we have talked about a lot of truths this week, and what I'd like us to do is talk about how to apply it. And so here are some final thoughts as we think about this going into the weekend. The first is this: we've got to prepare for difficult seasons. I wish I could tell you that God just protects us from all these things and we'll never have to deal with them. And all we have to do is say, God, put a hedge of protection around me and I'll never have to experience these heartaches. I wish that was true, but it's not. The verse in Matthew that we've been looking at in the Lord's Prayer is, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. In other words, there are times that God has to bring us through trouble, not just keep us from it, but bring us through. And we need to be prepared before we enter into these things. Secondly, we've got to arm our mind with truth so that we're prepared. Truth is the key, not feelings, not what we hope will happen, projection, or what we feel or afraid may happen, another form of projection, but truth. Dwell on things that are true and honest and just and pure and lovely and of good report. This is how people are prepared for these times. They have to arm themselves with truth. Thirdly, when these times come, which they certainly will, we've got to turn to God quickly. We've got to immerse ourselves in the scriptures. The scriptures we've learned, the scriptures that we've been studying, we go back to them, and we've got to dig into the word as the word takes root in us. We've got to allow ourselves to be strengthened through the counsels of godly people. Don't try to face these hardships and heartaches as an isolated person. God gave you the church, and he gave you a pastor, or he gave you a dad, or he gave you parents so that you can navigate these things with the guidance of godly, matured individuals. Fourthly, we've got to be sobered by the shortness of our lives, but also comforted by the fact that God condescends and he takes concern for us in a personal way. And when I say the word condescended, I don't mean it in the way that we tend to use it, but that he is compassionate. He looks at us in our misery and he pities us like a father pities his children. Fifthly, we've got to learn to distrust our emotions and our feelings. We've got to speak to ourselves and let how we feel be shaped by what is true, not what we feel shaping what we think is true. We've got to make sure that we are living according to the truth, not lies, or not what we think could be. And we need to take comfort in the ultimate end that God has appointed for us in these seasons. He uses them to draw us to himself and to strengthen us. What's my final thing? Have a wonderful weekend. I hope that we'll see you on Sunday. And if you're in town, hope that we'll see you there. Be gathered with the local church and be strengthened by the gathering of the church. May the Lord bless us this weekend as we prepare our hearts to worship the Lord together as a body. Have a blessed weekend. If this has been an encouragement to you, please take a moment to share that. Perhaps pass it along to someone who you think could be encouraged by it as well. Have a blessed weekend. Bye now.